In the golden age of rock and roll, bands consisted of guitar and drums until they realized that the piano added harmonic richness and melodic flair. Then, along came the legendary pianist, Nicky Hopkins.
Nicky was a rock and roll player, and I mean, aside from everything else he could do, he could play rock and roll piano like nobody else.
Curiously enough, it was during that period of doing the marquee every week that I met up with the Stones.
Nick and I were down the club and we went to see Cyril, you know, to see what his new band was like. And the piano player, he just blew us away.
And I first saw Nicky's name playing harpsichord, I think, on a Kinks record.
So if we look back at some of those early Who records, we can see like evidence of Nicky's musicality.
He would just be in the background and Pete would say, okay, we need some piano, we need this. And Nicky would just get up and play.
When Nicky came into the Rolling Stones scene and all of a sudden this guitar band had this whole other color to it, or a bunch of colors.
Suddenly Nicky had just come out with a riff or a melody line or something which completely changed the song.
I don't think Nicky knew how, good he was.
Everybody would always talk about Nicky Hopkins this, Nicky Hopkins that. And suddenly I became very aware that he was playing on everything.
Nicky had 3 years of session work in London where he played with absolutely everybody.
I took him to San Francisco to do a Steve Miller album.
Yep.
Which he was brilliant on.
Usually if somebody came to town, like Nicky did for Steve Miller, he would get with this family and was meeting members of the Dead and members of Quicksilver and the Airplane.
He should have played at Woodstock with the Jeff Beck group, but Jeff Beck sulked and went home. But Nicky still played at Woodstock because he was on stage with the Jefferson Airplane.
He had an intuitive feeling of where the piano should sit and where it should be.
Iconic guitar riffs, well, he was the master and the creator of a lot of iconic piano riffs.
I wasn't involved in the Lennon stuff, but I imagine if you listen to what he's actually playing, it's very delicate.
But it was always very thematic and cinematic in a way. And it was just, beautiful, session work, improv by Nicky.
Over a 30-year period, Nicky Hopkins would play on over 250 albums, and during that time, he played with some of the greatest bands in the world. His contributions on their records made him rock and roll's greatest session man.